All right, so I'm just going to say this out loud. It's right here on my screen, but you have to hear it because you're going to be so tempted to not do this. Keep the templates intentionally plain. Do not go and start making a whole bunch of CSS custom styling for it, or even just don't even use CSS at this point. Just see the content on the page. That's our goal. I want basic HTML, like a very simple layout, almost ugly if you want. The important thing is to see how the files are connected. We are not trying to win a beauty pageant with our application here. We are just simply trying to wire up the structure. And in the prior video, we have talked about the index page, which is going to show all these recipes, and then you're going to be able to click in and see a particular recipe. And we went into Table Plus and we made a migration, and we have our recipes table. We put 2 recipes in there, and we have one recipe tied to one author and another recipe tied to another author. Authors are really users, so this one's tied to Drew, and then the other one is tied to Sam. So can we display that on the page? And we are actually really, really close to doing that. So one thing, just as a follow-up from the prior video, we need one more relationship here. So let's come back. So if we're in our app, we have our models, we set up the relationship of author. I need the back-populated relationship of recipes on the users table. So I have to actually define that. So I need to come in here, and this doesn't require migration because we're not changing the columns. This is really just for Python. So think of it for programming, the Python programming language, not for our database. So relationships, and we are going to have recipes. So the recipe is a DB relationship. Okay. What table is it? What model is it referencing? It's referencing the class recipe, the model recipe if you want. And then there is a back populates. So back populates. Normally we would put user here because we're coming back to the user, but I called this, instead of user ID, I called this author ID. Instead of users or user, I said author. So it's going to be author, which is referencing this structure. And then I need to tell it like what the key is over on the recipes table. So the foreign keys equal, okay, recipe dot author ID. Okay, so keep it like this, or you can drop it down, make it look like this. All right, so that's just so we don't see an error. I probably should have done that in the prior video. But now that we have all the relationships set up, let's go into our recipe controller and let's get the recipes. So we will, for index, we're going to want all the recipes. And then for a particular show page, we are going to want one recipe. And to get all the recipes, all we do is we call the model recipe, and then we say we're going to query and we want all recipes. Now, it doesn't know what recipe is, so I will have to import that. And I usually import it like this because we have made the init file. So you can just do app models and then import your model. Here we're going to do something very similar, but we need to filter. So recipe.query and then get or 404. So what that does is if it can't find, it will return a 404 error, and I won't have to do a couple extra lines of code. And we just pass in the ID of the thing that we're getting. Now, this is great, but we haven't used them, so we need to pass them to our templates. So recipes equals recipes, and then over here, recipe equals recipe. So now I have reached into the database. I've gotten all my recipes. Now, as your app grows, you're not going to get all. You're going to do some kind of pagination thing here, but just for testing purposes, we're going to grab them all. We're going to give them to the template. And so in index.html, I should have access to a variable recipes. And then in show.html, I should have access to a variable called recipe. Okay, so let's just make sure our web application is still running. So let's go back to the index page. We'll bump it up here. And let's split the screen. Okay. And then over here, I am going to go to my templates, and I have my two templates. So here's index and here's show. And for right now, that's all we need. So let's come over here. All right, so let's just see and hope that we don't end up with an error. So recipes, I should have recipes here. Look at that. So cool, I have two recipes. And I mean, just knowing that exists. So now let's do some stuff with that. And this is where I'm saying don't get fancy, keep it simple. So in the template, I'm just gonna make an unordered list, and I'm gonna make list items like this, all right? And the list items are gonna have recipe dot title. Now I know I don't have recipe, I have recipes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a for recipe in recipes, and then I'm gonna end my for loop. And this is, if you haven't seen this before, this is Jinja 2 notation. So it's like similar to Python, but it's different. And for, okay. So look at that. Pizza and salad. That's so what we expected. This is great. There is a way of kind of, if you don't have, and I just recently saw this, an else, then you can put, this is the scenario where this is empty. So there's nothing in recipes. So in which case you could say no recipes yet. And we could delete our content in our database and we should see that. Let's make some links, because I mean, it's great to come up here and change the URL, but let's put this in an anchor tag. So I'm going to put this in anchor tag, which is href, and the href is this is right. So URL for, and I think I don't need those, but we might have to bring those back. So it's going to be recipe.show. Okay, and the recipe ID is what we need to pass in. Equal to recipe.id. Okay, let's in that, and we will just put this title right here. All right, let's see what happens if it yells at me. Oh, it didn't. Okay, then, all right, so now what I can do is I can click here and I get garbage collection as you see, right? But notice the URL is 1. If I click here, URL is 2. Awesome. Again, keep this simple. Don't resist the urge to start styling this. The idea right now is just to get content on the page. So if I want over here, I can just put in the recipe title. And then maybe we do dash recipe dot author. Now, if you do that, that's actually the user model. Let's just show you what you see here. You're going to see like the user model, which is user ID 1, username Drew. So you would probably do something like this, author, and then username. And then we see it, pizza by Drew, and salad by Sam. So I know it's underwhelming as a website. Like this is nothing that you would publish, but the key takeaway is that you have had to do very little to wire up the index page and the show page, and you have the data structure already there for you. Everything was scaffolded out with just a few minor modifications, and we'll keep building on this, but this lays the foundation, and this is really what I wanted from the tool Flask commands, so that I could build out things super quick without having the headache of, okay, why am I seeing this error right now? Did I not connect my template up to my route correctly or something of that nature? All right, we'll see you in the next video.